There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on the Evil FB Network. YouTube, check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire, Roy Blecker. You'll see my nice smiling, shining face. Of course, we'll join the Mighty Met KMET 1490 AM, as we do usually do at the bottom of the hour. Man, well, you see, seen Corey Payday upside down at the Santa Maria Showdown. We'll get the race report in a few. Man, the street fights breaking out in Corona. More people are saying flock off. The whole tire fiasco. The tire dealers weigh in. We're going to get to that in a second. Get into more of the nuances that we see all across the board. We dealt with the, as we have dubbed her, the sea hag, Nancy Skinner, who has systematically going to ruin California. Jacking the price of tires up to zillion dollars. Heaven's name. Tire dealer weighs in on this sort of silliness and frivolity. Here's the KCRA3 report. And it's not actually Zavala. Here we go.
Can buy are now gaining traction.
Yes, it is. The California Energy Commission approved new regulations that would phase out the sale of tires that don't meet specific energy efficiency standards. KCRA3's Anahita Jafari gets the facts on what this means for drivers.
Junior Tariq has been in the automotive industry for about 20 years, so when it comes to tires, he definitely knows a thing or two. When he heard California regulators approved new efficiency rules for replacement tires, he offered this advice to drivers.
Save up money. You're going to need it to buy these tires.
The first phase would begin in 2029, allowing the sale of tires with a maximum rolling resistance level of 9.1 newtons per kilonewton. In phase 2, it lowers to 7.2 starting in 2033.
Low tire rolling resistance basically means if you were to roll something, how far will that item roll? So if you're to roll a tire, how far will it go before stopping on its own?
That could mean fewer options for more affordable tires.
Again, what we said, you make unless they come up with some magic dust, that is a harder compound tire. Harder compound tire will have less rolling resistance because it doesn't dig into the surface, whether that be the surface be concrete, asphalt, dirt. You don't have to go high-row with coefficient of frictions and the traction circle and all that other engineering nonsense. But again, nobody is talking about the safety issue. Yeah, you put a harder compound tire, it's going to have less rolling resistance, and you're going to get 0.1% of a more mile to the gallon, but that tire is going to be much less safer. Your stopping distance is going to be longer. Your traction ability, your ability to go around a corner safely at any speed is affected. That's what they're not addressing with these new, that's what they're not telling you in this whole new process. More people are going to die with these tires, plain and simple. More people are going to be injured, paralyzed, because of these new regulations, on top of for how much fuel they're going to save per year. is infinitesimal. And the costs are going to go through the roof. They're not adding the medical costs of whatever infinitesimal amount of savings are going to get in gas mileage. Insurance rates are going to skyrocket. More from the KCRA3 report.
Most of our budget-friendly tires today are going to be phased out.
And for drivers on a budget, that could be a tough road to tread.
This one will be phased out. These ones, depending on what size you get, will be there, and some of those will be phased out. These will definitely be phased out.
So people won't be able to buy then any of these ones?
No.
So you saw Pirelli and Goodyear, not typically your cheaper tires. I didn't see what the third one was. Going to be phased out. As the tire dealer said, hold on to your frickin' wallet. Because the price of tires are going to skyrocket under the CHAG's new regulations. And this isn't somebody you voted for. This is somebody, not a body you elected to represent you. This is a commission appointed by Gavin Newsom that just comes in and says, oh, well, we regulated your toaster and your vacuum cleaner and your toenail polish. Well, now we're getting down to the T's, tires.
California Energy Commission says the changes to make sure replacement tires sold in the state are energy efficient. It claims the difference would be $1.50 per tire in phase 1 and $6.50 per tire in phase 2. But Tariq disagrees.
On average, about $10 to $20 per tire will go up, we are expecting. But Tier 4 tires generally do not have that technology, so we don't know how much more it's going to cost them, really.
Regulators claim drivers could save $79 in 4 months in gas or electricity costs under phase 1 and about $153 in phase 2 within 7 months.
That is total. Estimate. First, tires are going to skyrocket. When you eliminate 70% of the tires, and again, most of them, I think it was Yokohama and Bridgestone were the only ones that said they're going to build tires. So now you're only going to have 2 tire manufacturers building an only California tire that you can only sell in California. There's not going to be 20. These things are going to be triple the frickin' price.
Tariq says that would depend on the price of gas and electricity, but his bigger concern, the impact on safety.
They are a little more lighter weight, which means they take material off to make them. So could make them weaker, in other words, just depending on the material they use.
In Sacramento, I'm Anahita Jafari.
Bottom line, these are harder compound tires. They don't dig into the surface as well as the tires you're buying today. Let me decide what kind of tires I want to put on my vehicle for the purposes I'm using it for, and the way I drive, and in the conditions. You get these new tires in any sort of rainy or snowy, you're up in the mountains, or it never rains in California, haha. We all know how everybody goes completely nuts and crashes, go up humongously when 3 inches of rain. That's a drop here. You measure, take your tape measure over, and oh, there's another drop. That's 3 inches of rain in California. And everybody's, the crashes go through the roof. This is going to make it worse. I can't believe, it's almost unfathomable that we're being this stupid. We get to the race report, flock off. Maybe we'll get into this Clancy murder thing. Holy Moses. Not the horrific part. But the reaction of some in the smarter half of the population. Holy cow. That and much, much more on the rest of today's show. Some of the, and again, if the tire thing, and I've stayed off the Clancy murder trial thing because, not because I don't, not that it's not an important story, it's just so horrific. And then the outline of that, John Hatami has weighed in on it. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. He's the one that's done, in LA County, he's been a prosecutor in the DA's office for a couple of decades or more. I don't know, a long time. I think he's done all the child murder cases. He's done most of the child sexual abuse cases in LA County as a prosecutor. And he weighed in on the X machine on what's going on with that whole just insidious rigmarole. And the reaction, what's even more, as horrific as the Clancy children murders are, the reaction of some that are coming to the mom who's up on trial for killing, your mother killed 3 of her own kids. The reaction in their theory of who did it that the mom didn't is just mind-blowing. It's more far out than all the theories on the Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk assassination and everything that's going on there. And I mean, there's some way out stuff on that. I've come to the conclusion we're probably never, it's going to be like a John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and on and on and on. We're never going to get the whole story on the Charlie Kirk assassination. And everybody's going to believe what they think, what they believe is the evidence shows them at this time, and you're not changing their mind. And that's whether Tyler Robinson gets the death penalty or walks in this thing. It's not going to matter. I think he probably had something to do with it. I don't think he was the only one. I would look real hard at that Twiggs guy. I think he knows a hell of a lot more, or may have been involved a lot more than he's saying, like, oh, I knew nothing, Sergeant Schultz. But, again, maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. And again, but to follow up on the tire story, and Ashley Zavala put it up on the X machine about how this week has just been a prime example of why we need an engaged media. Nobody would have known. They were trying to clandestinely hide this. It was somebody inside the California Energy Commission that tipped off Ashley Zavala that this hearing was going on. And hey, you better get down here. They didn't make a press release that we're going to do this or anything. They were trying to slide this under the radar. As Ashley puts out, if there was more publicity of what was going on, maybe, hopefully there would have been more reporters down there, different perspectives of it. But no, they were. Why was the CHAG? Why was the CHAG trying to hide this in the California Energy Commission on this whole tire thing? We must know what the heck is going on. Thank goodness Ashley Zavala was down there. we'd have just went merrily on our way 2 or 3 years down the lane. Oh, holy Christ, what, your tires are going up 2 or 3 times. And you're down to when you could have a selection. You have 10, 20 manufacturers, and each of them have 3 or 4 different styles of tires you can buy in each one of those categories. Tens, if not hundreds, of choices you have for each individual tire size. Now you're down to 1 or 2 if you're lucky. And they're $500 frickin' dollars a piece. They're only going up $10 or $20 a piece, and you're saving money crap. But again, the broader point that Ash is bringing out is what the hell would have happened had she not been tipped off. Man, you got to be on top of these MFers every second of every minute of every hour of every day of every year of every decade of every century. We had the whole Terry Schlantz, who confronted Nick Shirley out in front of the Capitol and is, with that phony thing and trying to accuse him, oh, there are reports that you have a small penis. Well, it was very obvious. Most people just hearing Terry Schlantz, he looked gayer than crap when he was doing that. And why is he, just look at where his eyes are focusing when he's looking at, young buck Nick Shirley. This old guy who's chief of staff for Assemblywoman Tina McKinnon or whatever her name is down here, who's a complete nutcase. Yeah, all you public employee unions, especially teachers, cops, and firefighters that back all these imbeciles and hire this guy as chief of staff. Why has he even still got, in any sane world, Tina McKinnon or McKinson or whatever the hell her name should have fired him last night, if not first thing in the morning. This is him just 2 years ago, pissed at Jim Cooper, who was in the assembly. Now I think he's sheriff, of Sacramento County or something. Nick Shirley posted this of Terry Schlantz, chief of staff of McKenna, and trying to get Nick Shirley to commit a crime of sexual indecency exposure, saying, well, why didn't you show us your... Now and prove us wrong. Here's Terry Schlantz, 2 years ago.
Terry Schlantz, I'm a 20-year employee of the State Assembly and State Senate. In April of 2022, then Assemblymember Jim Cooper sexually harassed me and threatened me with workplace violence during work hours on the 5th floor common area of the swing space in this building. During an 8.5-minute diatribe, which was captured on security footage, Jim Cooper degraded and demeaned me because I was not supportive of his campaign for Sacramento County Sheriff. As he continued to demean me, he began shouting, why do you have a hard-on for me, Terry? Followed by at least 10 affirmative statements from him yelling at me, you have a hard-on for me, and you have a hard-on for me. As a gay man, this was highly offensive and highly inappropriate way to speak to me or any.
Yet this guy will roll around. He's all crying. He's a gay man. Jim Cooper says you have a hard... Did I have a hard-on for him, and I'm upset. He's making this big plea. And it's like almost, what sort of bizarre world? rules for me and not for thee. Yet he can pull this crap. He's complaining about that about Jim Cooper 2 years ago, which happens to be a sheriff now, former assemblyman, who is on the darker shade of skin tone of brown. Here's this creep. Again. With Nick Shirley, here we go.
What did I do for you? Mia Bonta, do you think her creating a bill that would make it basically entire assembly of California, and this is what he's doing with his time? Oh, yeah, you can get a photo. See, people love me. People don't know who you are.
You want a flyer?
Do you want to take the photo?
No, I'm gonna.
This is a beautiful lady right here, sir.
Thank you.
See,
So this
come on. I'm making you work out so people can actually see your penis.
Nick. Allegedly small
comes out
penis.
here.
Alleged small penis.
It's risky for him to be out here. He could be banned or criminalized. You know.
Exactly. There.
I don't think does having a small penis, is that a criminal? Are you going to introduce that legislation, Assembly member?
That's Terry Schwantz, or whatever the hell his name is, Chief of Staff for Tina McKinnon. And now he was whining 2 years ago. Whining. Oh, Jim Cooper said I had a hard-on for him, and this is offensive to me as a gay man.
Any person. After this diatribe, Jim Cooper then leaned into me, looked me in the eyes, and said, "Well, I hope you can sleep well at night," and then walked away. In shock, I went to my office and began to file a WCU complaint against Jim Cooper. But as I was typing, his words, "I hope you can sleep well at night," echoed louder and louder in my mind. Knowing that Jim Cooper had recently been detained at a local airport for attempting to take a loaded gun onto an airplane, and widely known accounts that Jim Cooper carried a loaded gun with him at all times, including at his swing space office. I became fearful for my safety, and this.
Jim Cooper's a cop. He's a sheriff. I think he's allowed, under California law, to carry a concealed weapon. Terry. And oh, I was scared, and oh, is Jim Cooper going to come over and shoot me? Yet he wanted Nick Shirley to pull out his penis in the middle of Sacramento in front of that and commit a crime. And the obnoxious, not only that, just the obnoxious behavior. Look at the assembly member that was with him, or staff, or whatever, and that young lady had to endure Tina's chief of staff, elected member of the assembly. I don't know, why, by this morning, that dude should have been fired. You gotta love the parodies that came out. Again, the parodies, the satire, comedy. I'm sure this was AI generated. Nick Shirley reposted this. Here we go.
Sir, you know why I pulled you over?
No, officer.
All right, and that handicap sign hanging there, that yours?
Yeah.
What's the handicap?
My grip is so small, I became handicapped.
Wait, what? Did you say your grip is too small?
Yes, sir. It's inverted, and I have trouble walking. It's not funny.
All right, sir, I'm gonna need you and your tiny little dick to step out of the vehicle.
Again, AI-generated satire, comedy. But it's again, comedy, satire. Is there and a useful tool to point out the absurdity of Terry Schwantz whining about Jim Cooper, and oh, he said something that was offensive to me because I'm a gay man. Yet he, yesterday or whatever, or Wednesday, he demanded that Nick Shirley pull out his penis in public.
30 seconds, Roy.
Maybe. Well, if there is any good sanity in return, that guy should be fired as chief of staff. And everybody in that district of Tina McKinnon should lose by 111%. As Sean said, we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
We'll get to the rest of today.
For those who support America, patriotswitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 in the Mighty Met KMET 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM, and joining our vast video audience on the Evil FB Network, YouTube, all that stuff. Check us out, subscribe, type in IE Newswire, all that good stuff. See my nice smiling shining face. News, tire dealer, KCRE3 had a great report. Tire dealer said prices are going to shoot through the roof with the latest rendition by the CHAG, Nancy Skinner, and the California Energy Commission, trying to eliminate 70% of the tires we can buy in California. And they're trying... The even more absurd of this, from Gavin Newsom on down to the CHAG Skinner, they're trying to tell us it's going to save us money. We're going to make it less choices. We're going to make it harder and more difficult for you to buy tires, and we're going to make them cheaper. I guess Monday, they're going to come out and say, you know what? The Tooth Fairy is real. Santa Claus really does come down the chimney and deliver all these gifts all over to all the boys and girls all over the world. That's what they're trying. They're testing to see once you went, the latest rendition, once you went through the COVID con and 80% of the PVU people bought into that, went out there and got the clot shot. They're going to see if they can really push this off. If they can pull this one off, and all you in the other 49 states, bend over and grab your ankles. Because it's coming to your state, town, and city. Enclave, I don't care if you dug a bunker 200 feet in the ground, like we supposedly blasted the nuclear stuff out of Iran, in the ground. They're coming after you. And hard. It's astonishing. KTLA put out this. Appears to be a street fight in Corona. Man in a scooter and a car seem to have a disagreement. Let's see if this will play. Here we go.
A road rage incident in Corona caught on camera is now going viral. It reportedly happened last Thursday evening near Auto Center Drive. The witness who filmed it says a scooter rider and a driver got into a confrontation. Witnesses allege the scooter rider made an obscene gesture at the driver. Then someone got out of the car and the situation turned physical. You can see a police unit responding.
Somebody made a physical gesture. I'm guessing that was, big guess, that was a middle finger. And the fight was on. You know, this has happened. Even some in the smarter population, but mostly in the retarded half of the population, a gazillion times since recorded history. First, if you're going to hit somebody, or you're dangerously close or whatever, the hittie's most likely going to be upset. He may even flip you the bird. Now, of course, this can go a lot of different ways. You know, the other guy could say, hey, sorry, didn't see you. Or get out of the car and say, hey, thinking he's, you know. You're not going to make a perfect freaking society. And you know what? If you take all the aggression, testosterone, whatever in the retarded half the population, and you turn us into women, I guarantee you, ladies, you may think it, but you're not going to like the end result of that. Hands down, without a doubt. But it's kind of amazing to me is why people get all, everybody's got their own taste. Why it gets so much attention. Like my Moreno Valley City asked right at the end of the council meeting a couple months ago. And you know what? It gets 500,000 views going all across. Ishmael put it out there and it goes all across the world. It's amazing people's reaction to stuff that isn't really important. And they just focus their lives or that attention on that. But the stuff's really important, like this tire deal. And the people should really be marching in the streets over that. At least in my view. And, as most people should say, or should be, my view should be the only view. This Clancy murder thing, and I just want to touch on a little bit. Mom kills 3 of her kids, jumps out the second-story window. Well, first she sent Dad out, saying, I want some pink toenail polish with a purple tint. And he, being in the retarded half of the population, said, I better go out and do this if I want to see more time on the top side of the grass on Earth. So he bails out. She kills her 3 kids. Jumps out of the second-story window, I guess, of their house, trying to kill herself. Or this is what the allegation, or this is what she's charged with. This is what the prosecutor says. She jumps out of the window of the second story trying to kill herself. Well, she doesn't. She just paralyzes herself from the waist down. Now she's on trial for killing her 3 kids. John Hitami, who ran for LA District Attorney, has been an assistant attorney for 20 years, handles most, if not all, of the child murder, sexual abuse cases. He writes, I cannot remember in my lifetime when I saw a crowd of people cheering on, waving, smiling, and taking selfies and videos of child murder. I've had someone yesterday respond to one of my tweets by saying they hope Roxanne, my wife and mother and my children, don't get depressed and kill our children. Yeah, that person was immediately blocked, but that really, really bothered me. What's going on in our society? Can you disagree even on social media without being sick and cruel? Cora Dawson and Callahan were murdered by a person who was supposed to protect and keep them safe, their mom. The last thing each child saw was their mom killing them. Also, strangulation takes time. It's not instant to cheer about. Also, trying to understand why this happened isn't a bad thing. In child murder cases, this is what the jury always wants to answer. Why would a mom or dad, stepmom or stepdad kill their own children? We rarely get the answer, sadly. Also, most of us, me included, want to do things and implement things to end these tragedies so they don't happen again. It's like the baby Haro case that was out here in the IE and anything else. But there's a cult of women who are out there cheerleading this mom on trial and making hearts for her, and they're saying, with the hand or however you do that. And they're saying, oh, she didn't do it, it was the dad that did this. As she's completely innocent, they're making excuses, and they're going around threatening people like John Hatami, who actually is out there trying to protect kids. This is part of the culture that's going on. And this was part of the culture to make the straight white male the evil of all this and women this. And, you're supposed to hate them. And they've been indoctrinating and pushing this from TV and movies and now social media and TikTok or whatever and all this other crap. And now we're seeing the consequences of this. You're called the smarter half the population because you're supposed to be better than us in the retarded half. Do not emulate like you used to. Don't emulate all the stupid bad stuff we do. You're supposed to be there to counteract that, not perpetuate complete stupidity and then blame it on us. Or blame the dad for something. And as Tommy points out, I don't care how, it's like suicide or anything else. And they would, people will tell you, professionals and everything else, or at least I've heard it. You're never going to know the exact reason why or why it happened. So don't beat yourself up with that. Who knows how or what was going on allegedly in this crazed woman's mind, mom that made her kill. It's like the one drove her kids into the ocean or into the river in Texas or whatever. There's been a whole host of them. Thankfully, it's very rare, but that doesn't mean it isn't tragic. But don't, for crying out loud. It's like with the guy that killed the healthcare insurance guy, and you got all these women out there that just got the big hots for him and all that. You wonder why we're getting the DSA stuff and the California legislature and Energy Commission banning tires and everything else. Again, it's enough. It's enough to really want to make your head explode. I don't know. Flock off seems to be sweeping the nation. Let's see if we got more on that. Here we go.
The local American Civil Liberties Union is calling on the city of San Diego to cancel contracts for automated license plate readers. Flock is the company behind the systems. Law enforcement calls them vital tools, but there are growing concerns over privacy and misuse. During yesterday's Public Safety Committee hearing, one person, dressed up as Darth Vader from Star Wars, tried to make their point against Flock.
The Emperor is a fan of Flock, and we must continue utilizing Flock technologies so that we can follow and surveil the rebel scum as they move from playground to playground, from playground to pool, from pool to gymnasium, because we all know that the Flock cameras are not only following the license plate readers, they are following children. They are following children in parks and gymnasiums, and we need this. I need this so I can stalk my ex-girlfriend.
Our AOPR system is shut off. Nobody has access to our system outside of San.
I wish I could trust law enforcement, and hopefully we will get to that point. But when law enforcement keeps backing the Nancy Skinners and the Tina McKinnison or whatever their like her name that hires Terry Swanson is doing this, and Gavin Newsom, and the latest DSA yo-yos and everything else. We've got to get this all back on the same page. And I'm not trying to be critical. But Darth Vader has a point. And once this system is set up, like it all, what is it exploded? It was in like 12 towns 2 years ago, and now it's in 100,000 or some ridiculous number. And again, they can track every... Oh, you're not wearing your mask? Oh, you got a I support the Second Amendment bumper sticker on your car. We will monitor you. And maybe the San Diego Police Department will not use them, but... Or maybe this guy wouldn't, but somebody will. This whole Flock thing definitely needs to be addressed before it grows. First, it needs to be halted right now before it grows any further. First and foremost, and you're seeing vigilantism, not that I'm encouraging it, but you see all over the country people are, damaging, taking them down. I mean, we've seen this in the George Floyd deal, and they're burning people's down. This is the latest thing, and you keep pushing people's buttons. And the potential of the powder keg blowing go up exponentially, or humongously, or a lot, depending on your outlook, education, level. You should understand those terms. So, we need to definitely, and if we got to be absurd and come up there dressed in Darth Vader like they did down in San Diego, then that's what we got to do to get the attention so we're not doing stupid. I don't know. Another one. This whole, we got to change the school mascots and all this stuff, or we got to change the Washington Redskins to some other stupid, idiotic name or whatever. Here's another absurd deal. CBS 13 report. Here we go.
To drop native mascots, one local school is bucking the trend, saying they will keep the Indian as their emblem with the support from a local tribe. So far, it's one of only 2 California high schools to keep the name. The other is in Palm Springs. Here's Ashley Williams joining us now.
So now we're down to only 2 schools with Indian names, and the Indian tribe said fine. I don't know. Most of the Indians, almost all of them, maybe I'm sure there's probably one that protests and somebody, fact checked it. Most of them don't care that the Washington Redskins are saying that back. Or what are Cleveland Indians?
With Ripon High School's announcement of keeping the name.
Yeah, Tony, the school district.
That's a pretty good name, Ripon. I might have enjoyed going to school if I went to Ripon High School. Here we go. That's a cool name.
Made the announcement just yesterday saying they got authorization to keep the name from the California Valley Miwok tribe. Well, the tribe says they do not find the mascot name offensive. This is the one step any school can actually take to keep their mascot. The state law took effect back on July 1st. It requires public schools to drop certain Native American terms from being used as school mascots. That is, unless they get consent from a tribe. Ripon High has had the Indian mascot for more than 100 years. We did speak with the school's social studies department head today, who helped lead the push in keeping the name. He believes this is a way to build a relationship with local tribes. He's also been in contact with the tribe's chairman to strengthen that.
I've encouraged her to come onto campus to look around to see if there's any kind of images or any of the media that we send out that's inappropriate.
Again, the Indians don't care. In fact, they like it. It keeps them viable. Heck, as I've been told, I'm part Indian. I mean, holy cow. I don't get care, don't get offended. I get offended about, if we're gonna make everything, if we're gonna make the standard, if one person out of 8 billion is offended by something, then we might as well just cut out our tongues, and I'm not suggesting that. Because we won't need to speak to each other, because if that's the standard we're going by, and then to go through all this rigmarole. Vaya caramba, freaking caramba. Can we stop the stupidity? Get to the race report, as we say. There's Corey Day, upside down at the Santa Maria shootout that was last night. High Limit Racing Series. Brought to you by Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet. Corey Day didn't have a great night. Not big payday for Corey Day. But here's some of the highlights. Here's a start. Hopefully. Here we go.
On the outside comes Tanner Holmes. He'll take the race lead from Aaron Reitzel down the back straightaway. Tanner Holmes goes to the race lead, and he is going to lead the opening lap here at Santa Maria. Holmes to the bottom now, encountering the back of the field. Reitzel to the inside off of turn number 4. Cannot make the pass. There's Holmes. Has to go to the...
Tyler Holmes and Aaron Reitzel started off. James McFadden from out here, driving famed Tarleton Sons, and Caleb Montgomery were 3rd and 4th. Some of the local guys were right up on top of it. Challenging. Here's more from the Santa Maria Showdown.
Montgomery slides by the 31 car as well. Now Montgomery, Reitzel, and McFadden are nose to tail down the back straightaway. Tanner Holmes now trying to...
There you go. They're all battling for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd some more. The Santa Maria Showdown. Then all heck broke loose. Here's California native Corey Day. Hopefully, here we go.
Take a look at the replay. Him and Tyler Courtney get together big time. Man, Day got some serious airtime rolling into turn 1. Looks like that was the 26 of Peck that also clobbered the fence down there. Man, Corey's car was inverted there for a...
Yes, it was inverted there. That was a heck of a tumble. Some pretty good snap rolls across that. Unfortunately, Caleb Montgomery, who runs both wing and non-wing, has won a lot out in the West Coast and was challenging among those guys. He also had an incident. On top of that, here's that. Hopefully, here we go.
Montgomery does not slow down quick enough, gets into the back of Reitzel and backs the car into the wall.
So Caleb Montgomery, again, I don't know if he didn't see the yellow or what's coming out. After the Corey Day deal, leader Aaron Reitzel slowed down. Caleb Montgomery hit him, and his day was over as you see him backed up against the fence. Tough break for that, because I thought, man, Caleb might win this darn thing. He was looking pretty stout, and that's pretty good with a local boy against the guys that do, the guys that run all across the country on this. So here we go for more.
McFadden underneath the Tanner Holmes looking for the second spot. Cannot do anything there. Now Reitzel gets into the side of the left car. McFadden goes by.
So some darn good racing up there. Competitive. Track was in great shape. Here it is. Last lap coming down. Here we go.
Rico trying to put him a lap down. Those two get very close off the corner there. Brock Searfoss pulls him to the infield. But off of turn number 4 will be win number 9 on the year. Comes at Santa Maria for Aaron Reitzel. Second to McFadden. Third goes to Holmes. Fourth.
At least McFadden got up to second for us California guys out here. Of that, Holmes was third. They battled her hard for 30 laps. Again, great racing, great track. Maybe we can get racing back. As I said before, and I told you that once they started tearing down the 2-mile oval at California Speedway, it was done. That half-mile track they were doing was a ruse. Auto Club Speedway final days confirmed. NASCAR sold the final 90 acres to Hillwood Development. At least there's not going to be a track in Fontana at all over that day is done. Like I said, the plans I seen when it came out showed no racetrack. Kyle Busch won his first Cup race in 2005 there. Won his 200 NASCAR across all 3 main series a few years ago, I think 2020. Well, sadly, both Kyle Busch and Auto Club Speedway are no longer here. And again, it's confirmed the last 90 acres where the stands were, where the last bit of the grandstands were in the old pit road and that's been, NASCAR has sold that out. It's all under the control of Hillwood, so it will be Warehouse City 100%, the 600 acres was Fontana Speedway, formerly the Kaiser Steel plant. We'll never hear the sounds of 900 horsepower times 42 ever again. Get out there and have some fun this weekend, unwind, because Monday will come around way too fast. We all know that. I don't know what it is, but we're going to have to dig deep so we don't wind up in a big pile of doo-doo like George Poppy Bush. It's possible. We can do it. We are going to have to band together and dig deep and really do it. Save the USA. That'll do it for this week. Mandatory you're back here in 71 Hours Wide to hear the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid.
All right, Roy. I will talk to you Monday.
You got her.